Cinderella didn't marry the prince for true love, she married him to escape poverty. And she wasn't alone. For centuries, marriage wasn't driven by romance, but by economic necessity. In contemporary Western society, we as women often consider romance or finding our soulmate as primary factors when choosing a marriage partner. However, for most of marriage's extensive history, which dates back thousands of years and spans virtually every culture, it served primarily as an economic strategy for women's survival. It's astonishing that until fairly recently, women could not own property, rarely had access to formal education, and faced significant social barriers to employment. Historically, a woman's financial security and social standing were almost entirely dependent upon the man she married. In many societies, marriages were arranged by parents to strengthen family alliances, secure economic advantages, or ensure dowries. For generations, the best advice parents could give their daughters was to marry well, since a good husband was essentially a guarantee of financial stability. Factors like temperament, personality, or even significant age differences in husbands were often considered secondary or irrelevant compared to the economic and social benefits marriage offered. Love was viewed as a fortunate bonus rather than a necessity. Women who remained unmarried faced pity and social stigma, labeled as spinsters, and often living under a relative's roof with minimal autonomy. Being a wife was not just desirable, it was essentially one of the only socially acceptable careers available to women. Young women were encouraged and often pressured to marry early. The average American woman married at about 20 years old in 1960, and society emphasized that finding a good husband was critical as he was effectively both an income provider and retirement plan wrapped into one. But if marriage is considered a type of contract, it wasn't an equal one. Men were the financial providers, and decision-makers and wives were simply the dependents. This was encoded in law. In many Western countries, coverture laws meant a woman's legal identity and property were absorbed into her husband's upon marriage. This context sets the stage for exploring how the historical view of marriage is currently being completely turned onto its head. In just the past 50 years, women worldwide have gained unprecedented access to education and employment opportunities. To illustrate the scale of this shift, historically, very few women attended university. Today, in many countries, women outnumber men on college campuses. Women are earning advanced degrees in medicine, law, engineering, fields once almost entirely closed to them. With increased education comes enhanced career opportunities and, importantly, financial independence. Women no longer need to depend on a husband for housing or financial security. They can earn and sustain it themselves. This represents a monumental shift in marriage's traditional role for women. Marriage has transitioned from being an expected milestone into adulthood to an optional lifestyle choice, with many women choosing to marry later or opting not to marry at all. The average age of first marriage has risen dramatically since the 1960s, now approaching 29 to 30 years old for women in North America. This delay isn't due to a lack of available partners. In fact, a frequent complaint from men is that there is a shortage of women on dating apps, giving women increased optionality in terms of matches. Men often find themselves swiping endlessly and consider themselves fortunate to receive even a few matches. This dynamic occurs partly because men tend to swipe right broadly to increase their odds, while women are far more selective, typically choosing only profiles they find particularly attractive or interesting. But even so, generally speaking, more dating app users are male. About 75% of Tinder users identify as male, showing how skewed the online dating landscape is. Instead, many women are prioritizing higher education, successful careers, personal growth, and being more selective about marriage. Family structures have diversified. Living single, cohabitation without marriage, or choosing single motherhood has become widely accepted and increasingly visible, popularized by successful celebrity single mothers like Kylie Jenner. Society has slowly adapted to the reality of women heading households independently. Although wage disparities persist, women's earnings continue to climb relative to men's. This economic empowerment has shifted marriage towards an ideal of partnership among equals. If companionship and love are now central reasons to marry, women increasingly insist on marrying for the right reasons and the right partner, conscious of preserving their independence. Yet, with these advancements come new challenges. Women with thriving careers and financial autonomy now have higher expectations from potential partners. They don't have to settle. The script flips. Rather than women needing to marry for money, we sometimes hear anxiety about men needing to measure up to women's success. You might hope that with a push for equality in education and work, and the demand that women share the financial responsibility of the household with men, That equality in marriage would naturally follow, a modern marriage of partners sharing duties 50-50. I'm seeing more and more that men are expecting women to split a bill for dinner or even offer to pay themselves. Failure to do so means that the woman is labeled a gold digger or looking for a partner for the wrong reasons. The reality is that things haven't quite worked out that way. Enter the concept of the second shift, a term sociologists use to describe the unpaid labor often assumed by women after their paid workday ends. Imagine a woman who's put in a full day's work at the office only to return home and find a sink full of dishes, kids needing dinner and homework help, laundry baskets overflowing, and a husband lounging on the couch relaxing because he worked all day. For many women, this isn't a hypothetical situation, it's their daily reality. Studies and data backs this up. Women consistently find that even in dual-income households, women shoulder a disproportionate share of domestic chores and childcare responsibilities. They spend hours more per week cooking, cleaning, managing children's schedules, and performing other household duties compared to their male counterparts. And it's not just the visible chores, there's the mental load women undertake. Tracking grocery lists, scheduling doctor appointments, remembering family birthdays, and managing countless small tasks that keep the household running. This mental project management is exhausting, and it usually goes unacknowledged, leading to mental burnout and stress. Then, on top of it all, there's emotional labor, another strain women primarily bear. In many relationships, the woman is expected to be the emotional caregiver, providing comfort, remembering anniversaries, mediating family tensions, and generally keeping the peace. Basically, women are often the unofficial therapists and social secretaries of their households. It's draining, and it's a role men sometimes take for granted, leading to resentment. All this adds up to an unequal burden that can make marriage, frankly, a raw deal for women. This imbalance leads to women asking, why do I want to marry and end up doing more work? There's a reason why, after divorce, men often move quickly into new relationships while women tend to enjoy their independence for longer. I've observed this firsthand among my mother's friends and family acquaintances. The reason is that men who have spent years in long-term relationships who find themselves single struggle to manage daily tasks and quickly realize how much easier life was with a partner around. In contrast, women tend to savor less responsibility, greater freedom, feeling little urgency to enter another relationship immediately. I want to be clear, when I think of a good relationship, I don't necessarily think of a strict 50-50 tit-for-tat arrangement. The best partnerships, in my opinion, come from recognizing each other's strengths and figuring out how you can genuinely make life easier for one another. How exactly chores or finances get divided is entirely case by case. I've noticed some troubling trends from my own experiences while dating and single. For example, a number of men would ask to split the bill on the first date, even when they were the ones who suggested going out. Those men didn't get second dates, not because I can't provide for myself, but because I believe if a man isn't going to show even a bit of effort on the first date, my expectations that he will put effort in a potential relationship become immediately very low. I've also seen friends in relationships taking on disproportionate financial responsibilities, paying more for rent or groceries, while simultaneously encouraging their partner's personal growth, guiding them toward higher education or better career opportunities, all while still handling the majority of cooking and cleaning. With these types of dynamics in mind, it honestly doesn't surprise me at all that more women are choosing to stay single. We're witnessing the rise of the happy single woman. No longer a pitiable spinster, she's now an empowered figure. And those who have married don't feel the need to stay in unhappy marriages, as women initiate the majority of divorces. Surveys show that many single women report high levels of life satisfaction. In fact, one recent study even found that single women tend to be happier on average than single men. For men, singleness is frequently correlated with loneliness and poorer health, whereas single women often build strong social networks, hobbies, and fulfilling routines. This isn't to say everything is amazing for single women or that they never feel pressure or loneliness. But statistically and culturally, the stigma around the unmarried woman is fading. Women have seen their mothers or grandmothers put up with unsatisfying marriages because they had no choice, and they're determined not to repeat that pattern. Economic freedom makes that possible. It's a lot easier to be content single when you can pay your own bills and chart your own life course. Single women are buying homes at higher rates. They're not sitting around waiting for Prince Charming, they're busy living. And ironically, this very trend, women not needing men, has sparked a certain crisis of confidence among some men. Historically, marriage had an implicit understanding. Men were providers and women were dependents. women often engaged in hypergamy, marrying someone of higher social or economic status. But what happens when women surge ahead? We're witnessing a significant shift in traditional gender roles and are in the middle of understanding the implications of this reversal. I predict the potential of traditional hypergamy reversal. With more women now obtaining college degrees than men and young women out-earning their male counterparts in many cities, women who desire a male partner may increasingly find themselves marrying down in terms of earnings or education level. I want to clarify a personal opinion here. I don't necessarily believe that the best path for every person is to attend a higher education institution, but the fact does remain that generally individuals with college or advanced degrees consistently out-earn those with high school diplomas, with certain fields like STEM or finance resulting in even higher average earnings. Turning our attention, we see a subset of men that feel threatened by successful, independent women. You see it in memes and social media rants, complaints that women only want men who make six figures, or complaining that women have become too picky. To better understand this, I discussed the issue with my boyfriend and his male friends. Their perspective highlighted that some men genuinely struggle with their sense of identity and purpose if they are not the primary earners in a relationship. This identity crisis stems from long-standing societal expectations that equate masculinity with financial dominance. Consequently, some men shy away from dating highly successful women due to feelings of inadequacy or intimidation. Others react negatively, resorting to misogynistic rhetoric to reassert control and mitigate their insecurities. Figures like Andrew Tate, a controversial influencer popular among young men, epitomize this reactionary stance, advocating a return to traditional gender roles and male dominance. Tate and similar voices within the manosphere frame women's progress as threatening or misguided, promoting very traditional dynamics where men lead financially and socially while women occupy submissive roles. This reactionary ideology is largely driven by anxiety surrounding the reversal of traditional hypergamy. The popularity of such figures shows that a lot of men are indeed anxious about a world where women are increasingly more economically powerful. Much of it stems from hurt pride or a feeling of being displaced. Yet, ironically, most women aren't abandoning their traditional gender expectations entirely. Women continue carrying disproportionate burdens of domestic and emotional labor in relationships, indicating that many traditional gender roles remain intact. And many women do prefer to seek out partnerships where the primary earner is the man. The phrase, "Where have all the good men gone?" circulates, not because all women expect their partner to be a millionaire, but because women who have worked hard on themselves understandably want a partner who respects them and ideally matches their effort. Women who've invested significantly in their education and careers naturally seek partners who appreciate and match their ambition, or at least aren't intimidated by it. Meanwhile, some men are responding by withdrawing, not just from relationships, but also from educational pursuits and the workforce, creating a cycle of disengagement often termed male malaise. Some women are pursuing alternative lifestyles altogether, leading us to explore the soft life phenomenon. While some women are leaning into careers and independence, another trend has emerged in parallel. Young women openly embracing ultra-traditional, hyper-feminine roles, not just as wives, but increasingly as stay-at-home girlfriends. This lifestyle is popularly celebrated under the banner of living a soft life. Scroll through TikTok or Instagram and you may find these videos. A young woman in her 20s filming a day in the life of a stay-at-home girlfriend. She moves through a stylish apartment, making gourmet smoothies, preparing coffee for her working boyfriend, practicing Pilates, tidying an already spotless home, lighting scented candles, journaling about gratitude, and perhaps going for a midday manicure. The vibe is intentionally luxurious and low stress, it's soft. There's no traditional 9-to-5 grind, no hustle culture. Instead, it's a lifestyle of domestic tranquility and self-care, funded entirely by her partner. The aesthetic has gained millions of views, reflecting a significant Gen Z countercultural shift away from the girl boss hustle culture of the 2010s. Instead of leaning in, these women are deliberately leaning out of the workforce. They frame this lifestyle as an empowered choice, consciously rejecting burnout and embracing traditional femininity, cooking, decorating, and prioritizing wellness as a luxury. Admittedly, this lifestyle can look appealing, especially to those exhausted by the pressures of school and work. Unsurprisingly, this trend has sparked significant debate. Feminists and career-driven women often respond critically, saying that we fought for generations for freedom from dependence on men. Supporters counter with the idea that true feminism is about choice. If a woman genuinely wants a domestic life, who are we to judge? My personal stance lies somewhere in between. As I've previously mentioned, relationship dynamics should be determined individually rather than using blanket societal statements. What works perfectly for one couple might not work at all for another. Being a traditional stay-at-home spouse who manages domestic responsibilities and childcare is genuinely demanding work, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that arrangement, provided it is mutually beneficial and agreed upon. Similarly, roles can be reversed successfully, with the woman working and the man managing household duties. The key is mutual benefit and careful consideration of potential risks. There is considerable risk in women staying out of the workforce for extended periods, especially when marriages end in divorce. Re-entering the job market after a long absence can be challenging. I've personally witnessed this risk realized through a friend of my mom whose husband left her for their maid. It was a shocking realization. These situations are not just found in TV dramas, they actually happen. That Christmas, my mother's friend spent the weekend with us, and I vividly recall wondering how she would manage financially. Her husband had been the primary earner. The answer was that she quickly entered a new relationship, and while they remained together a decade later, it's clear there was at least some economic pressure influencing her choices. Such cases are not isolated. Frequently, stories emerge about friends, relatives, or acquaintances facing similar challenges. This has deeply influenced my personal choice to always maintain an independent income stream, minimizing my own financial risks within a partnership. Choosing to be a stay-at-home girlfriend without the legal protections afforded to a spouse is particularly risky. I recently watched a video by a popular influencer who was a stay-at-home girlfriend and who openly admitted that after her breakup, she found herself in a difficult financial situation, having abandoned her career for the relationship. It's important to consider the long-term consequences carefully before relying entirely on someone else's financial support or making significant life changes like quitting your job based on a partner's promises. The middle path suggests that a woman shouldn't have to choose between respect for her career and a fulfilling family life. Similarly, a man shouldn't feel diminished if his partner earns more. Instead, it envisions a partnership where both individuals share professional and domestic responsibilities fluidly depending on life's demands. Perhaps at one point, the woman focuses intensely on a significant career opportunity while the man manages the household, and later they switch roles. For many, this balanced relationship represents the ideal scenario. Neither partner feels economically dependent, and neither carries an unfair burden alone. Yet, achieving this balance isn't easy. It involves dismantling deeply ingrained societal expectations. It requires men to willingly embrace domestic roles and women to value supportive contributions that might not come with higher salaries. Additionally, workplaces need to evolve, offering flexible schedules, parental leave for both parents, and policies that prevent two-career households from becoming overwhelming, especially for women. Society is gradually moving in this direction, though cultural shifts occur slowly. Importantly, the middle path isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. For some women, fulfillment might come from a successful career and vibrant social network without marriage. For others, a traditional arrangement where roles are clearly defined and mutually respected might be ideal. The crucial distinction today is choice. The vision is a world where women can freely choose their paths without facing judgment or becoming economically vulnerable. The essence of the middle path mindset is this: if you choose marriage, maintain your independence. If you choose independence, it doesn't signify being destined for loneliness. There are numerous ways to construct a satisfying life. Humans are inherently interdependent, and the ultimate goal is to foster healthy, equitable relationships while preserving individuality. According to the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest-running studies on happiness, strong relationships significantly contribute to life satisfaction and health. This includes marriages, friendships, and family connections. The critical factor, however, is the quality of these relationships. A toxic marriage can severely damage well-being, whereas a supportive partnership can greatly enhance it. Therefore, rather than categorically labeling marriage as good or bad, perhaps the most valuable insight is prioritizing relationship quality over relationship status. A woman with strong friendships, community ties, and purpose can experience equal or greater fulfillment compared to a woman in a loving marriage, and certainly more than someone in an unhappy marriage. Women today are authoring their own narratives more than ever before. Remember, it's your life. You have the right to live it on your terms, how you choose to live it. Stay thinking and reflecting, keep empowered, and until next time, take care.